Haugen.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. Welcome into today's Community Comment. Again, I'm your host, Kevin Haugen. It is my pleasure to welcome into our Daily Dodge TV studio today. A little different time from their normal appearances. Had to reschedule due to some conflicts, but it's always a pleasure to welcome into our Daily Dodge TV studio and on our airwaves the members of the Beaver Police Department. With us today, as always, is Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson and Detective Dan Coons. Thank you both so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
And
yeah, thanks.
We got a packed show today. We don't want to spoil too much of the surprise, but I got to tease it a little bit.
Show and tell.
Yeah, this is we have some actual things to show off here today. So if you're not watching on our YouTube channel, Daily Dodge TV, this is a good opportunity to head there if you can and check us out there because we got some stuff we'll be showing off today a little later in the program. That's quite exciting here. But first off, if you do have a question for the members of the Beaver Dam Police Department, as always, you can call into the show at 885-4446. Again, the phone numbers are 885-4446, or you can text 887-9595 if you want to get in a question here during Community Comment today, again, with the Beaver Dam Police Department. And before we get into a lot of the topics, we're just a week away from Christmas. Is everything set? Patrols are ready to go. Everybody's ready for the Christmas break and the New Year's, that time of year here.
As always, we do see an uptick
Families
of
get
activity.
together.
Yes, yes. Yes, so many different things that happen. You get the drunk driving incidents, mostly associated with New Year's and Christmas, and you get domestic issues because families are getting together where perhaps not everybody gets along, or the mix of alcohol with maybe some history ignites some issues, and of course you deal with the mental health issues as well that come up around the holidays. So it does always have the potential, and we don't know. We can only expect what we've seen in years past, and we're ready for it.
Yeah.
So
it's a interesting career, obviously, the one you guys work in, because a lot of people are like, oh, we're ready to take off. We got a couple days just to unwind. There really is never that when it comes to members of the police force. Obviously, you get vacation, you can take time off, but that crime never rests. You're always got to be ready and on call.
24/7.
And we keep our minimum staffing going. Well, and it doesn't necessarily need to be minimums, but we keep our staffing going throughout the holiday season. So when you're sitting down and eating Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's dinners, there's people working at the City of Beaver Dam Police Department making sure that the city is safe.
I do want to recognize, though, I think sometimes we forget all the other people that are working.
Yeah.
You know,
Is that firefighters?
because we do have firefighters, we have
EMS.
nurses,
Yep.
we have gas station workers, we have retail people in retail.
Good point.
You know, running radio stations, you know, so
That
there's a
too.
plethora
Yes.
of industries that are still, you know, working hard to
Keep
make
things
sure
going.
everybody's, you know, still moving along because the world doesn't stop
That's true.
turning on Christmas. So
That's very good. That's a great point, Detective. And we do though appreciate everything that the men and women in
course.
Black and Blue do for our community here and keeping the community safe, and especially around the holidays, because that is always a special time for you guys. You want to spend with family, but there's always you never know what could happen and calls. And so we do appreciate the hard work that the members of law enforcement do to keep us safe here in the community and everything around the holidays this time of year. And again, if you do have a question for the Beaver Dam Police Department, you can call in at 885-4446, or you can text 887-9595 to get on community comment today. And in the spirit of Christmas and the holidays, just this past weekend, a very special event
That's right.
took place that a lot of agencies come into Beaver Dam, and a lot of people are part of this, and that is the Shop with Cops event this past Saturday here. How did that go?
That went very well. We had, once again, so COVID, we saw a dip in numbers just because everybody was afraid to come out. We didn't know what was really going on. So we actually didn't have a normal event back in COVID. And since then, I think it kind of killed our momentum. But we've been increasing. When we went back to our normal events, we've been increasing our officer and our kid numbers going up every year. This year we had kind of a new high, if you will, 73 kids served with 73 matching officers that were helping out. So that is absolutely fantastic. Each kid got a $150 gift card. They went shopping with their cop. After they got done shopping, they came back to the Watermark, and that's our community center in Beaver Dam, who hosted us. And they got to eat breakfast, which was catered by Pizza Ranch. While they were eating breakfast, we had 4-H volunteers and Santa's helpers help wrap those presents. And by the time they were done with breakfast, they walked out with a big, gigantic bag of fully wrapped presents for their family. It's just a special event, a good, positive interaction with law enforcement. We get to help out some kids that maybe, have some financial needs in their family, and also what I said before, that positive law enforcement experience where we get to interact with the kid, not in a situation where, we're talking about what happens around the holidays. We've got a good positive thing going on there. So that means a lot to the officers, and it's invaluable to our community, and it was a great event, and we hope to do it again next year, hopefully bigger and better. And we're running out of room actually at the Watermark. We might have to take a look at a different venue.
Yeah.
So
that's a good it's
a
problem
great
to have.
thing. The problem. Yeah. Sorry, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Live radio, gotta love it.
That happens all the time. Happens to me, and I think it's also really cool that this opportunity provides the kids who partake. They're not buying presents for themselves. They're not going in and spending $150 just to buy themselves whatever they want. They go in there buying.
They're shopping for their family.
Shopping for their loved ones. They're teaching.
Yes.
What really the spirit of the holiday is all about. It's giving gifts to your loved ones and appreciating them, and it's
a little
a
bit more
great opportunity.
giving than receiving.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I appreciate all the people who helped donate and contribute to this cause as well. To be able to provide those $150 to each one of those kids, that's always a big part of this, is the fundraising that goes into it and the support from the community.
Yeah, and we have tons of business sponsors. Each kid went home, an officer too, with a sweatshirt this year, and on the back of that sweatshirt, we list a lot of our biggest sponsors on the back, and there's just so many of them. I mean, there's probably 15 to 20 lines of sponsors on the back, plus there's individual sponsors that are listed on there, and other smaller donors too. So every little bit helps. If anyone is interested in donating to the program, it's not just our main event during Christmas, but we also do Cops with Bobbers, and we do a back to school shopping event called Shop with Cops Summer Edition, where we buy school supplies for kids getting back to school every summer. So if you're interested in that, you can always donate and stop any officer and say, hey, we want to donate, and we'll get them back to the sheriff's office. If you want to mail in something, you can send it to the sheriff's office. It's 124 Center Street, I believe. Ooh, boy, every time.
Yeah.
Just double check that address, ladies and gentlemen. But you can send it to the sheriff's office, Attention Shop with Cops, or you can stop it in person at any of our law enforcement agencies in Dodge County, and they will get it to the right people, and we'll make it part of our donations. It's all tax deductible too, so we can send you a receipt. Yeah, we very much appreciate it. It helps make the program work. It helps sponsor it, and it's a great thing.
Yeah. Also want to make sure we highlight a couple of days. It's this week. There's just a few days left. This Thursday, there's a fun activity taking place
That's
also
right.
at the Watermark that
That's
we want
correct.
to highlight as well.
Yes, separate charity organization. This one is run by the Beaver Dam Police Charities. This is an annual event that started about, what,
Yeah, I think
6 years
we
ago?
probably started this event back in like 18 or 19. So we had a couple really nice events back then at the Watermark as well.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, so we took a couple years off, and now we've had it now for the past couple years, and it's really it's another, just like Jeremiah said, it's a good opportunity for us to interact with the community. And this one is more driven towards just families or anybody that wants
Yep.
to come out. It doesn't necessarily have to be children.
Yeah.
Although anybody that wants to come can come for free and eat for free and meet Santa and maybe pick up a gift or two. But it's just another event that allows us to interact. And we try to do these things throughout the year. Cops and bobbers, or a Christmas dinner, or we have our softball game.
That's right.
It just adds to the mix, and I think
Yeah.
we've really grown and built on these events over the past maybe decade, and it's become really valuable to us and hopefully to the community to talk with us.
National Nights Out is another in August. The
National Night Out. Yes,
National
correct.
Night Out is
Yep.
another one that is a great opportunity for that. And where can people go to find out more information or purchase tickets to head to this?
So they're absolutely free. If you want to pick up a ticket, we
That's
still
good to know.
have some left. So if
Okay.
you and your family are interested, stop by the City of Beaver Dam Police Department. Our clerks have the tickets right there for you. I think we need like a phone number and a name, just if in case there's any changes, we can call you.
The
And
only
then-
thing I would add, and I just
Yes,
want-
go ahead, Dan.
that if you do come, and we certainly urge everybody that wants to come out to come, to please come if you're going to take a ticket.
Yes,
Because it does
yes.
take up that spot for somebody else that may take it, assuming we become full.
Yes.
So if you are going to stop at the PD, there's no limit to how many you can, although we don't want somebody showing up with a family of 30 and picking them up. But there's no limit necessarily to
Right.
how many you can pick up.
Right.
So if you have a family of 5 or 6 or 7, come pick up your tickets and join us. I forget who's catering the event this year.
Yes, that's lost on me too.
And they got some chicken cordon bleu and a nice dinner this year. So
Sounds
Yeah.
like good food is going to be available if
yeah,
you are.
and Santa will be there.
That's even better.
Santa's there.
I mean,
Yeah,
meet
get
that.
to meet Santa.
I mean,
awesome.
Santa's
Tell them
good
what you
for-
want for Christmas. I think you go home with some Christmas gifts too for the
Yeah.
kiddies. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. And what time does the dinner begin at?
4:30 is Santa time and 5:30 is dinner time. So
Okay.
yeah, come meet Santa for a little bit, and after you're done, sit down and enjoy a nice holiday dinner with the police department.
Fantastic. That's this Thursday at the Watermark here in Beaver Dam, and again, swing by the police station to put your name in, get some tickets. Again, it's absolutely free, no charge. And
Yep.
maybe before we move on to another topic here, before we got onto our the big one
event,
here,
yes.
I just want to spend just a quick moment, if you guys don't mind, highlighting what the Beaver Dam Charities group does and just how big of a role they play in here in the community.
Sure. So like Dan kind of hit on it, the different events that we do with the charities is not only fundraising, but actually reaching out to the community too. So we sponsored many sports teams in the past. We have this charity dinner where we we have our toy drive giveaway that they do during the holiday. It was last weekend. Why can't I remember the name of that big holiday
Santa's
event that we did?
Hometown Adventure.
There we go. Thank you. Yep, we do that. And like Dan said, we're a lot more active during the holidays just because tis the season.
Yep.
But it's kind of a year-round event. The other thing we do too is having kind of some funds available. If we see a family in need, we can take action at that point and assist them as needed. Perfect example would be, hey, we just pulled over someone. They have a couple kids in the car. They need car seats. They're not using car seats. It's not safe. And, depending on what the circumstances are, we might, at that point in time as officers, step in and say, hey, do we have some charity money that we can go to Walmart and we can get them a car seat versus writing them a citation for it. It wasn't safe to begin with. There's no doubt about that. But how can we solve the problem and get the kids safe versus a penalty where you end up paying a ticket and then, you're going to spend your money on that versus buying a car seat. So looking for a solution there. So it allows us, when we see families in need, to take action, especially, around the holidays, and allows us to have positive interactions with our community. And that's the scope of what we do at the Beaver Dam Police Charities.
I do want to mention that it's under the umbrella of the Beaver Dam Community Foundation.
That too.
And we hold these events, but we're totally separate from the the organization's totally separate from the police department. So when we do these events, officers that come and volunteer, they're not getting paid, they're not getting any sort of compensation. They're there to do good things for the community. So they're donating their time and their efforts to raise that money so that we can in turn use non-taxpayer dollars for things that we feel are a good benefit to the community.
Fantastic. A lot of great work that the, again, Beaver Dam Police Department Charities Group does here in the community. And as we move on now to talk about another seasonally related topic, not really in the vein of Christmas and the holidays like the last two, but it takes place at the time of year, and it has gone into effect since the last time you guys have been on, and that is the winter parking rules and regulations. And Chief, I know this is a topic that we bring up quite often this time of year, but it's an important one to hit on because there are some things that people should remember and keep note of as snow starts to begin falling here.
Yes, welcome to the Winter Parking Show here on WBEV. So, anyways, yes, please, if you are parking your car out on the street this time of year, anywhere between November 1st and April 1st, you got to have a winter parking pass. Otherwise, you could get yourself a ticket. So the reason why we have this ordinance in effect is it allows our plow drivers and our DPW guys to keep the roads clean, safe, free of snow and ice, safe to drive on. That's the whole idea. So the goal is, if you get a winter parking pass, they're $25. Come down to the Beaver Dam Police Department, you fill out an application, you get a call back, come back, pick up your pass, stick it on your bumper, and you're good to go for the whole winter. So $25 to park on the street, and the only extra responsibilities you have are you have to keep the snow off your vehicle, and then if you have a situation where the snowplow passes you by and kind of like goes around your car, you're responsible for taking care of that snow that was left behind, that was either on your car or in front or behind your car on the road, just to keep it cleaned up. So it does require you to do that within 24 hours of that snowfall. Otherwise, like I said, you are good to go and park on the street overnight during these times. If you don't get the permit, if you will, you could get a citation up to $20, depending on what the situation is, and in certain areas as well, $50 depending on where it is, but or what the circumstances are, I guess I should say. Anyways, yeah, it's just like I said, it helps keep the roads safe, and it's just something that we do in the city to ensure that we've got safe roads to operate on.
Yeah, and if those who do end up purchasing a permit, it's important to make sure that those stickers or those identifiers are easily noticeable or easily recognizable for law enforcement, that they're driving by knowing that vehicle is permitted to be on the street.
Yes.
And if there's snow and that gets kicked up, making sure that that's wiped away and cleared, just so you know that the vehicle's not illegally parked on city streets.
Yes, yeah. If you're looking at the back of your car, you put that sticker on the bumper all the way over on the left-hand side. Please don't put it on your dashboard. Please don't hang it from your rearview mirror. We're not going to be able to see it. And especially when it's snowing, it's going to be covered up anyhow. So you could end up getting a ticket when you got a permit in. That's why we put it on the bumper. Snow doesn't stick on that vertical surface. So that's the idea.
And essentially the rules stay into effect until, I think, is it April 1st or until, can the mayor call that quick, or does it go until that time frame?
It's very rare. I haven't, since I've been a police officer, the mayor has never said, all right, we're done with winter parking. However, it traditionally ends on April 1st.
Unfortunately, living in the state of Wisconsin, there's always a risk that
in May
you could get some late.
I feel like when I was a kid, we used to get like tons of snow in November and December. I feel like we should shift this whole window of parking from like December 1st to like May. So I feel like we always get that April snowstorm.
We do.
It does. No, I feel like it's more.
It's always a big one too. It's where you do need to plow.
I always joke. I'm totally fine with snow up until Christmas and New Year's, and then after that, I don't want to see it until next year.
Correct.
But I feel lately it's been more January, February, March, maybe even April that we're seeing a lot of the snowfall come in.
January and February are just rough
those
months.
Are tough months.
Yeah,
those are tough months.
They make us who we are.
Yeah, that's true. Character
builds character. That's exactly right. Again, here we're with members of the Beaver Dam Police Department here on Community Comment today. Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson, Detective Dan Coons, here with us on Community Comment. The reason why they're here today, Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson is a regular guest here on Community Comment, so you always see his face here on the show. Detective Dan Coons.
Sorry, everyone.
I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a fantastic thing. The Detective Dan Coons
special guest star.
Is a special guest star who comes in. It's been a couple of months since we've had the detective on, but there is a special reason that both of these gentlemen here are with us today, and that sort of ducktails into us talking about the main topic of our show this afternoon, and that is drones.
Yes.
We got
Hot topic.
That is a hot topic nowadays, especially what's been going on the East Coast. As you can see right there, Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson holding up one of the newer drones that the police department was able to get, and there's Detective Dan Coons. That's the one. Now, how long has that one been with the department, that Detective Dan Coons is?
It's about 2 years now. Yeah.
Is that the first one that the agency brought in?
This is actually number 2 and 3.
Okay.
So we had a DJI Inspire, which is probably twice the size as that and probably twice the weight.
Legs that you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of was just a beast.
It was a beast, no doubt about that. And that was, the DJI Inspires probably came out on the market about 10 years ago, when that technology was new, and things have improved since then. And we learned things as we went on. So I guess I should explain. We have a drone team. We have a drone program. And each of the members that are on, we currently have 4, and we want to build up to 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range of actually certified pilots, certified by the FAA, where we go in, we take our test, we get our license, and we know the rules and regulations of not only the federal guidelines, but the state, et cetera. And we learn to fly these drones appropriately in any of the situations. Some of the 4 things that we do is we do a lot of searching. We do a lot of recon. We do a lot of room clearing now, and that we'll talk about this in a little bit. And we hope to just kind of continue those things and have it as a use of a service for our community and surrounding areas as well, that if they ever do need a drone pilot, we have enough on duty and we have the appropriate equipment in order to respond to those situations. Whether that be like a lost child out in the woods, whether that be a suspect who fled after a high-speed chase. We had that situation in Waupun that we were talking about. A year before that, we had a suspect who fled after a high-speed chase lying down in the middle of a bean field, and it's pitch black outside. You can't see him. Well, a drone gets up high. It has the thermal camera, and he stuck out like a sore thumb. You could find him immediately, within seconds, and that's the kind of technology that we're talking about. With this smaller drone, we're adding the ability to tactically clear the interior of a building without having to send a person in, essentially knowing what the situation is before we have to put in a person that can go into harm's way. Somebody takes a baseball bat to our drone, well, we're out $450.
They can
Versus,
pay for that down the road too.
Yeah,
we'll get restitution. We'll get restitution, exactly.
And another charge.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Criminal damage to property. Probably.
That's just me thinking.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
From the
you're not
taxpayer.
wrong.
From the taxpayer standard.
Yeah.
We definitely.
And those are more easily replaceable versus a police
person.
officer going into a situation and
Yes.
dealing with that same sort of problem in a building.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean they're invaluable. I mean, just like anything nowadays, it can be abused, but it all can be, for the most part, they're used for good purposes. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody pays attention, but there was a really good video out of, I believe it was Fond du Lac County a couple months ago.
The
with a
child in the
missing child
cornfield?
cornfield,
Yes.
So in the middle of the summer or fall when the corn is high, you're talking about how many people have to come out to try to go through a cornfield and not get lost and try to find a child, whereas in that case they found him. I don't know what the actual time frame was, but think about what relief that brings to a family, to find a child in the middle of a cornfield the way they did. And it's incredible.
Yeah, no, that video you mentioned, Detective, that's available. I believe the sheriff's office released that video that you can go online and find it yourself. And like the lieutenant mentioned, sticking out like a sore thumb is a perfect way to describe that, because I saw the video and it literally it is you cannot miss a person standing in the middle of a cornfield if you have a heat signature reader catching them.
Right.
Just within the past, I mean, how many times would you estimate in the past, 2 years have we launched these things to use them actively in investigation? Probably over 20.
Yeah, at least.
And when it comes to finding actual people, maybe 10, 15. But just in the past 2 weeks, we had one where we had a crash and the guy fled, and we launched a drone. And within seconds of getting that thing up to 100 feet, you can see his heat signature a few hundred yards out into a field. It's 20 degrees that night. You're bad guy or good guy.
You're 89.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, if you fall over and go to sleep, you may not wake up in that kind of temperature. So it truly is invaluable.
And the amount of man hours it saves
Yeah.
and resources from having to send people out into those fields, because that's how it had been done, I'm sure, 20, 30 years ago. It was you search inch by inch, going through with flashlights, shining that through, and if you find them, you find them. But now this, I can't imagine just the amount of work that has taken off law enforcement to be able just to send these things up into the sky, scan an area, and as you mentioned, how easily it picks out a lost individual or a suspect that's on the run is just incredible to see.
Would you like me to demo? I mean, just show the screen here as best as I can.
Yeah, if we can hold that up to the camera, this will be a great opportunity to sort of see kind of how well these.
This is what we would be looking at, and it's on a black and white heat signature.
So there's Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson right there. You can see my head poking up as well. So those, you can easily identify an individual just based off of that camera.
So obviously it's different with how cold it might be in adjacent areas.
Sure. Yeah.
So obviously if you're outside in the middle of a field, that's going to pop out like a sore thumb. Whereas, if it's in the middle of a summer and all the surfaces are warm, it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But you kind of get the idea of how easy it is to see something.
I think we just all saw a great example. I mean, it's not cold in here. It's a pretty decent temperature,
Right.
but I mean, just there is. And just the movement too. I mean, most of the times these people aren't standing entirely still. They're still trying to look at ways, of either continuing to escape or if it's a lost individual, try to find their way back home. So those things are also easily able to identify with these devices.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the benefits of having the technology with the thermal and the heat that you were talking about, they're running, their heart rate is up, their body temperature goes up. I think I said 89. I went 98. It's 98.6 is average.
Yeah.
And when you start running and sweating, you're emanating that heat outside of your skin. I remember on the one that I had, I was able to see through the bean field the heat left over by him brushing against the actual bean plants. You could see a path through the beans leading up to him. And we didn't need to see the path per se, but I mean, as soon as he realized the jig was up, the drone started kind of closing in on him. He stood up, put his hands up, officers were calling him out, and he was walking towards the outside of the field. And every step that he took, you could see a warm footprint behind him, even the officers coming up and this is late fall, it was still above freezing. But I mean, that capability, that technology to be able to differentiate between your environment and what's really going on in absolute darkness. Yeah. I mean, it was probably maybe 50 yards from the freeway, and you only had headlights driving by to illuminate. That was it. So, I mean, that is absolutely 100% beneficial to law enforcement in many ways.
We're with members of the Beaver Dam Police Department here on Community Comment. With us are Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson and Detective Dan Coons. We are showcasing their drones and how important they are to what law enforcement does. In our next segment, we'll get the opportunity to see one of these things up in the air and get a look at what it's able to do. So if you're watching online or even if you're listening, stay tuned. More Community Comment is coming up next.
community comment, here's our host, Kevin Haugen.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome back into today's community comments. We are with the Beaver Dam Police Department here in our program. We are. It's our pleasure to be joined with Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson and Detective Dan Coons here on the program today. Again, if you have a question for members of the police department, you can call in at 885-4446 or you can text 887-9595. I did learn during the break we do have a caller on the line, so I want to head to the phones and say welcome to Community Comment.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well, Tyler. How about yourself?
Doing good. How are you, Jeremiah Johnson?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I got a question for both of you, actually. I just want to know, for both of you, what's the worst situation you've been in since being in a police department?
The worst. I would say probably that apartment explosion situation. I was not there during the initial call, but that was probably the biggest and most in-depth investigation that we've done. As far as like a bad situation that could go worse, I think that would be definitely one of them. Yeah, back in 2018 was that? Yeah,
2018. Yeah, I think anything involving loss of life is probably the most difficult thing that we have to deal with, rather than property crimes, etc. But I would say probably working the 3rd Street fire at the executive apartment building.
Yeah.
I think that was 2017.
17, I want to say. It was April of
Right
2017.
after the-
It was a rough year. So
Yeah, that
that
was.
one involved, I think, the loss of 3 lives and countless other injuries and property damage. So those things are tough with and that's what motivates us to do our jobs better, because we want to prevent those things and we want to make sure they don't happen again in the future. But I think anything involving injury to people is probably the most difficult
Correct.
thing we do.
Yeah, that's, yep.
Well, thank you. Have a Merry Christmas and be safe, and thank you for your service. And keep up the good work. We need to hear more stories of what you guys do,
Merry Christmas.
especially for the kids.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you.
All right. Well,
All
thank
right.
you, Tyler, again for the phone call. Merry Christmas to you, Tyler, as well. And if you have a question for the members of the Beaver Dam Police Department, again, the numbers to get in are 885-4446, or you can text 887-9595 to get on the program today. And before we went to break, we spent a few moments talking about drones. And we have 2 pilots with the drone unit with the members of the Beaver Dam Police Department with us here today. So we'll be able to see one of them in action, and we'll do that here in just a few minutes. But I want to also highlight just the amount of training that went into being able to prepare, because obviously there is, you got to learn how to operate the equipment and make sure you treat it and store it the right way. But I was told as well that there was a bit of an experience, at least from the both of you guys, heading into this, so you guys kind of were familiar with how to operate drones before even this whole program and unit began.
I think probably flying it is the easiest part, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
I
you.
have to be honest with you. Yeah, yes, it's.
I think a lot of people think it's very difficult. I mean, you do have to have some hand-eye coordination but I mean, I can tell you that probably my 13, 14-year-old son could hop right on, because he knows those controllers pretty well. But
and just kind of an example. I'll hold it up here.
it actually
here's
looks
the
pretty
controller.
much like an Xbox remote.
Yeah, I mean it's.
So there, it essentially looks like
straightforward.
a video game
Yep.
controller.
Yeah.
With
And
joysticks.
it actually almost nowadays functions almost like a video game, especially with the headset. It's first-person stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas before it's more, before my first drone was one that you really couldn't even watch on your phone. It was one that you had to just watch while you're
Sure.
flying it.
Yeah.
So you're almost like second person trying to guess you have to have pretty good depth perception. But now as technology evolves, you really become one with the drone. I mean, there's some pretty talented drone flyers out there. I will not put myself on the level of some of these guys that are zipping around buildings.
Just competitively, is that
I mean,
people,
it's actually really incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I would get disoriented. I would just be puking while I'm flying the thing because of how up and down these guys are. So for us, the stuff that we do is probably relatively pretty simple. But I think the actual flying is the simplest. I think probably the most difficult is those of us that were out there flying just for the fun of it as a hobbyist. There's no requirement to be certified.
Right.
If you're out there advancing some kind of commercial cause or working in law
Or
enforcement,
work in the government.
or working in the government, you're required to be piloted or get your certificate as a pilot. And part 107 of the FFA to get a little dorky with you. Yep, Jeremiah's got
what
his.
it looks
his-
like
his
See if we
pilot's
can
license.
zoom in. It might be kind of far out, but
I often joke that if we're ever on a flight, a commercial flight to Florida with my family or something, and something happens, I'm a pilot. No, I gotta take
Yeah,
care.
I'm a little driver. Let me in
No,
there.
I'm only
just
kidding.
right,
I'm
right.
only kidding. I want to give a
Yeah.
false impression there.
You got some guy from like Delta Airlines
Right.
rolling his
But
eyes at you.
there is a fairly in-depth test. I mean, even just look. I brought some visuals, and you can't see them, but there's sectional charts that you have to know about,
Sure.
and there's certain things you have to kind of get tested on, and rules and all the regulations, and we know the government has a lot of those. So I would say that's probably the most difficult part.
Was passing the test.
Passing the test.
Yes,
'Cause there's-
absolutely.
I mean, when you're a guy like me that's 41 and you haven't taken a good solid test in a few years,
Yep.
there's a little anxiety that still goes around with that.
sure.
But,
Yeah.
I would make the argument that it's a good college level
Yeah,
test.
it's a
It's
good
not meant to trick you, but you have to know what you're talking about
Yeah.
in order to answer these questions. And,
So anybody out there, that's in law enforcement flying these things, or flying them for realtors or doing their own little business, they have to have their pilot license, such as we do. So, there's regulation there, but it's for good reason.
with the Beaver Dam Police Department here on Community Comment, the phone number is 885-4446. We do have another caller on the line. Want to head back to the phones and say welcome to Community Comment.
Hey, Kevin, Jeremiah, happy holidays and everyone else there.
Merry Christmas to
Oh,
you.
thank you,
Happy
Rich.
holidays.
Thank you.
Without getting myself in a fix, there is a nice family that I know, and I know you should be saying this, Jeremiah, for wintertime, as to not having to get a parking pass, so they park partway in the driveway, but yet they're blocking the whole sidewalk. And the reason I don't want to get in trouble is they're nice people, but they do it just about every Sunday and sometimes during the week. I mean, sure, if they're just like unloading their car or doing something, no big deal, but I got dog walkers that come by and they're out there walking in the street because that person's a lot of times blocking the sidewalk.
Gotcha.
And I know you had said once before, even part of the car blocking the sidewalk is not right. So my truthful question is, how close do you guys even watch it? Because I'm on an off street.
So, yeah, that's an excellent question. If it's only happening during Sunday, it might be something where we're not seeing it. So, if you ever have an issue where there's a parking problem, you can always pick up the phone and give us a call at the Beaver Dam Police Department, especially if it's blocking the
off and on,
sidewalk. 'Cause-
Jeremiah.
What's
It's
that?
off and on. It's off and on during the week too,
Sure.
and a lot more in the wintertime.
Sure. Yeah, you can always give us a call and we can make contact with the registered owner and let them know that they can't be doing that, or we can actually write them a ticket if need be, especially if you as their neighbor did the best thing ever is go knock on your neighbor's door and just say, hey, could you help me out here? Sounds like you did that and it's not really changing. You can always give us a
Bingo.
call, always, regardless of if you do that or not. But yeah, it's you did the neighborly thing. You can give us a call and we'll take a look at it for you.
I'll just throw this out there. You know where I live.
That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Next time I'm driving through, I'll maybe take a gander out there.
Maybe take someone like you to give them a nice reminder or a warning or something, because they are nice people.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. That's good.
But you might want to remind other people with winter coming up how they should and shouldn't park too.
Sure. Yeah. You always have to
'cause
be
there
neighborly.
are people that try to avoid having to, pay $50 for that parking permit.
Well, it's only 25 for the
I'm
parking permit. But I agree. Yeah, it's you don't want that.
Right.
I
So
hear
you
ya.
might want to let them know a little more, how you can and can't park.
Absolutely. Well, we can do that. And if it's
All
bugging
right,
you on that
thanks,
particular
Jeremiah.
day, give us a call. Thanks.
All right. Have a nice holiday, everybody.
You too. Merry Christmas to
Merry
you.
Christmas.
All right, thank you again for the phone call. The number, again, to get on the show is 885-4446. I believe we do have another caller waiting
right.
on the line, so let's head back to the phones and say welcome to Community Comment.
Hello there. I was just calling to ask you guys something. I was going to tell you that you should probably get out there and tell the people that the Christmas scanners are out trying to scam money off of us again. I just got a scam today on my text messages.
Thank you. absolutely. Yeah, there's here's what I'll say to that.
You're the scam expert.
Christmas time or not, scamming is so prevalent right now that it's hard to even keep up with it. I mean, we do our best to put out reminders on our Facebook page and our socials to talk about it, and we do our fraud presentations intermittently at the Watermark, and but ultimately, education is probably our best defense here in this problem. That requires those of us that are aware that it goes on to talk to our family and friends, because I only have a certain, my loudspeaker is only so loud.
Correct.
We can't reach everybody all the time. I wish we could send out a blast for this type of stuff, but there are so many different schemes going on right now that it's like chasing your tail trying to talk about all of them. I mean, we get people every day that call us up saying, hey, I got a call from this number, and I think he's trying to, those are good things to report, but as a practical matter, there's not a whole lot that we can act on there, because unless there's an actual financial loss, et cetera, we don't even take a police report for it necessarily. I think, again, it comes down to talking to your friends and family about the issue.
Okay, yeah, because I knew it was a scam right away, because I paid for it with Bitcoin. I figured either I had to work at the radio station or be a police officer in order to report Bitcoin.
Well, but I'm going to be honest with you. People do it. So whether it involves Bitcoin or some other type of cryptocurrency or gift cards, there's your red flag. And that means that should mean that's your signal to not proceed with whatever it is they're asking you to do.
I quite literally. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was just saying, I thought I'd better call in and let people know that.
Thank you.
No, thank you. That's a good reminder. Yeah, I quite literally got on my cell phone a text message saying that I had tolls that were not paid for in Florida that I needed to take care of. Click this link to log on and pay them. And obviously I knew I haven't been in Florida for many years now. So I knew that was a scam. However, they send that message out to thousands of phones. You could have one person that's thinking to themselves, oh yeah, I had a rental car. I forgot that. Did I ever take care of that? And they start entering stuff in. So a good reminder is, first of all, does the situation make sense? Number two, if it does make sense, don't click on the link that you see in the email or whatever. Investigate and go to that company's website directly. Don't fall for the phishing scam where they give you a link, and look into it before anything happens, before you give out any information, whether that be even your name or bank account information, whatever that might be. Don't do it. And if you're not sure, you can always give us a call at the Beaver Dam Police Department. We can have an officer take a look at it and get a second opinion before you're buying gift cards for Apple iTunes to pay for your taxes. Okay, that's no good. That does not happen.
No good.
The IRS does not take that. They will take check or cash. So.
Yeah, I know.
All right, good.
It was PayPal, and I don't own PayPal either.
Yep, that's the red flag. That's number one right there. Doesn't make sense. It does not. So.
Okay.
Good catch, sir. Hey, Merry Christmas to you. Good catch. I'm glad you're not out any money, and tell those scammers to get a life.
I'll just give them your phone number, and you can talk.
That works. Yep. 887-4612. 24/7. We'll answer it.
And his cell phone. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, my cell phone.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, for the phone call. And yeah, that's an important topic to hit on, especially around this time of year. The scams tend to rise around the Christmas time, and we saw not too long ago a couple of at least one arrest made here of an individual who got scammed out of a significant amount of money.
That's right.
In our local area. So anytime we can bring awareness to this issue, it's an important thing to do and an important thing to talk about. So yeah, again, thank you for the phone calls. And if you do have a question, you have a few minutes left to get into the program today at 885-4446. But with the time that we do have left here, I want to be able to make sure we spend some of that time actually demonstrating this drone. We've teased about it enough.
Gotcha.
Let's go through the process of getting this guy ready to go and usable here. So what Dan got, that is our newest drone. That's our third one that we have. This is called a DJI Avata 2. And it is pretty new on the market. It is specifically designed to operate indoors.
It's a little bit different than the other drones, so that this drone is a little bit cheaper. It's lighter. It's small. It can go through small spaces. It has guards around the propeller, so if it bumps into something, it doesn't crash. It'll just bounce right off and keep going, kind of like bumper guards. It doesn't have the thermal capabilities as our big drone does. That big orange drone, the Autel, that's designed for big aerial stuff, where this is designed to go inside a building and track things down and look around. It's kind of a scout, if you will. But it's still a lot of fun to fly. I'm going to give it a shot. I got to see where it is right there. I'm going to see if I can bring it right up to the camera.
Yeah, you fly, I'll talk.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that.
I'll be the co-pilot.
I like that. That's good. It's so we talk about this during your drone test. I'm the pilot in command, and you're a visual observer.
Yeah, sure.
And you're going to be my communications guy.
So is this sort of the setup that takes place at a scene, or is it a little?
If you have to,
it's best practice.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not always practical.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Ideally, the guy who's flying doesn't need to do anything else other than say, "Hey, I see something." I mean, and now the kind of what's nice about the setup. I'm not going to use these just because we're in the building, but I can put these on, and I have a first-person view in 4K of whatever the drone sees, and it's really nice. However, he can't see it, so it wirelessly hooks up to this iPad, and this is the view currently from the drone right now, and Dan can see exactly what's going on here. He's going to show you on the camera. So that's the view from the drone, and it's literally sitting on the floor. But that's what's nice about these teams is if we have a command team during an ERT or SWAT situation, they can see what I see as well, and then that team knows that I don't have to describe it in words. They saw it themselves too, so it's quicker. It's a nice little way to get information out there.
Yeah, because I mean, one practice that we would typically take is prior to going entry into a home. You might Google the address and find a previous realtor listing, and you can get a pretty good layout. Whereas if we are about to enter a home and we don't need to go in right now, obviously, if we have to go in right now, we have to go in right now. We're not waiting for drones.
Right.
But if we have time on our side, this allows us to breach a door and go in and get a real-time layout of a home.
Without getting anybody hurt either.
Yeah, that's even more important.
Yes, absolutely.
So I don't know. We'll see the pressure is on.
Right. Oh yeah. I'll be able to fly it. I don't know if anybody's gonna be able to hear. It's loud.
Yeah. We might not be doing a whole lot of it.
I think it'll be maybe. I
mean, get in there. Get in there and whisper.
There you go.
All right, you ready? Here we go. All right.
So it effectively takes a couple of pushes of the button to launch the rotors, and then you will see it pop up on your screen. And I mean, I'm sure if you're listening on the radio, it might sound in the background, but it sounds like a big bumblebee flying around in your area. The other one is significantly louder because the rotors are much bigger and it displaces a lot more air, but this one's pretty quiet. They haven't made them yet to the point where they're super stealthy, but some of these have different options too. If you were to go into a house and it did crash and fall upside down, some of them have the ability to flip themselves back over, which they call turtle mode. I do believe this one has that capability. Yep. So as it gets closer to my microphone, it might sound a little louder, but it does tend to throw down some pretty good downdrafts. So if it flies over a desk or something, it's going to throw papers everywhere. So it will function pretty well even outside in a pretty stiff wind. You can change its setting so that it does fight that wind a little bit better. But you can put these things up a couple hundred feet on a calm day and up maybe 200-300 feet. You're going to catch some 30-40 mile an hour winds. So it's got to be able to fight that a little bit. And you would never know that this drone is above your head, even if it was, 60, 70 feet up. So the other one you might be able to hear pretty well, but this one's much quieter. But yeah.
What's nice about that little one is we took it out in the garage. We set up an obstacle course. The shelves you can fly through, landing it in different places, taking off. And I was driving it very, very slow and very, very carefully in here. It is tight quarters, but you can drive it that precise, literally putting it an inch away from the camera, like you saw, and then, 2 seconds later, you can be going 25 miles per hour flying down a straightaway. And that's what's nice about it is the flexibility of getting in and in small spaces. There's some lights that are next to the camera that I could have flew right between there. We can go up the stairs. You can look all the way around. One of the nice things about the VR goggles is as I tilt my head down, the camera will actually tilt down to follow what direction I'm going in as well. This is the traditional controller that we have for all drones. They're all pretty much the same and operates the same as our Autel right here that has a display on it, but there's 2 little joysticks on either side. It also has a one-handed variety as well, which allows me to operate the drone, or anyone, I guess, the drone and have something else to do with your hands as well, too. So Officer Salazar, he's our drone pilot who's also on the ERT. He can take this drone and deploy it from inside the house already. If there's a situation where they come and they go, hey, we don't want to clear that right now, send in the drone. He can pull that out of his backpack, pop on the goggles. The other drone members can watch and see what's going on either their work phones or this iPad. And Officer Salazar can keep a hold on to the officer in front of him and can fly the drone and just tell them what's going on and what he sees, and they'll be able to see it as well. So there's a lot of tactical solutions that we have the possibilities to have now. It's great. That's why we got this second drone, and hopefully if it is used, it's keeping officers and suspects and victims and witnesses safe in any way possible. So
what's you may have mentioned this, and maybe during when the drone was flying and I did not hear it. What's the range on a drone, specifically on the one that we just saw demonstrated here? How far could you potentially be to fly?
I don't know. With clear, no obstructions.
Yeah.
I took this, the larger one, over to Two Rivers when they had the missing child, and we were flying over some pretty wooded areas, and I was going probably a good mile to mile and a half without really receiving any bad signal. I was pretty clear though, so there was no buildings obstructing.
No line of sight obstructions.
So, the line of sight was clear other than some trees. But if you start getting yourself into a building with a smaller one, which we have to test out, it sounds like maybe a little bit.
We did a couple tests at the Beaver Dam Police Department. I believe Officer Salazar, we've only had this for a little bit. He's going to reach out and go into some more residential areas. We've got big, thick, heavy walls made of concrete cinder block at the Beaver Dam Police Department. We're able to sit in one corner and then kitty corner across, still control it and see what's going on with very little issue with that. What's also nice is the drone will sit there and wait for it to pop back up as long as it can. The big one will actually come back home and land for you without any controls based on GPS. So I think in a residential setting with wooden walls and drywall, you'll be in the attic and you can see in the basement and vice versa. You can be outside of the building and look in, or you can be in and operate it while it's in there without any issues. So I think we could theoretically have some issues like in a big metal building like the Walmart distribution center, where you just have so much stuff and equipment and metal walls where that would be
signal.
Yeah, it's just going to block the signal. But in general, I think your average commercial building, we're actually talking with Walmart as well to go up to the distribution center and the actual store itself after it closes and see what it's capable of and what we can see and develop strategies on how to use it. If we ever have to tactically clear that building with the drone, we'll be able to do that.
So it hasn't been deployed in an actual incident quite yet. So, it sounds
just
like
got it a week ago.
Correct.
So
Yep.
Brand new.
Still technically, still figuring out all the bells and whistles on that device. But it sounds like there's beyond an incredible amount of benefits that come with being able to utilize these devices, and we appreciate the members of the Beaver Dam Police Department here bringing these devices in to be able to share with us what they can do and how important they are to the efforts of law enforcement and keeping not only them safe, but also you mentioned even the suspects and other witnesses or other people involved in situations as safe as possible. But we're just about out of time here on Community Comment today. I want to thank our guests for joining our program today. With us are Lieutenant Jeremiah Johnson and Detective Dan Coons with the Beaver Dam Police Department. Thank you both so much for coming in today.
Thanks for
having us, and Merry Christmas to you, the fam, and everybody else that's listening.
Absolutely.
Be safe, please.
Yeah,
yes, please do.
Great message to end on here today, and that will do it for today's Community Comment.